Welcome back to our channel. Think that 1998 Washington quarter is just pocket change? Think again. And don't ignore those state quarters from 2007, 2008, or even 2020. Some of them carry rare mint errors, low mintage runs, or special finishes that collectors go crazy for. One small detail could mean your quarter is worth hundreds. Hit that like button and subscribe. You might just be holding a coin that's worth far more than 25 cents. In 1998, the U.S. Mint was running at full pace, producing hundreds of millions of quarters to keep up with the daily needs of commerce. The familiar Washington quarter, with its dignified portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the proud heraldic eagle on the reverse, was struck over and over, every press in Philadelphia and Denver humming with energy. For most Americans, the 1998 quarter was just another coin, tossed into tip jars, dropped into parking meters, spent on candy bars and sodas. Nothing about it seemed unusual. Yet, buried within the vast river of coins that year was a subtle mistake, so small it slipped unnoticed past inspectors and into circulation, where it quietly waited to be discovered. For years, no one noticed. The coins mixed in seamlessly, indistinguishable to the casual eye from the billions of others minted that year. It would take a sharp-eyed collector, years later, to recognize that what looked ordinary was anything but. Miles had been collecting coins since childhood. His grandfather had given him his first Whitman folder when he was 7, and since then he'd never stopped hunting for treasures hidden in plain sight. On a warm spring afternoon, he stopped at his local bank and asked for a few rolls of quarters, a ritual he'd repeated thousands of times before. Back at home, he poured the rolls out on his kitchen table under a bright lamp, carefully examining each coin through his trusty magnifier. At first, it was routine. Roll after roll revealed nothing special, plenty of worn quarters, a few shiny uncirculated pieces, but nothing out of the ordinary. Then, halfway through the last roll, something caught his eye. The reverse eagle design seemed slightly off. The feathers weren't as sharp, the lettering on United States of America and $quarter looked slightly doubled. He turned it over to the obverse and looked closer at Washington's profile and the date. There it was, faint but undeniable doubling on the word Liberty, and on the date, 1998. Miles sat back in his chair, heart racing. Could it really be a double die? He'd heard of other double dies before, the legendary 1955 Lincoln cent, the 1972 Lincoln cent, but he'd never heard of one on a 1998 quarter. He grabbed his reference books, checked online forums, and found only scattered whispers of a rare double die from that year, but no confirmed high-grade examples. Determined to be sure, he sent the coin off to a top grading and authentication service. Weeks passed before the package returned, and when he carefully sliced open the box, he couldn't believe what he saw on the label: 1998 25C double die obverse, MS66. Genuine. Rare. Word of Miles's discovery spread quickly in collector circles. Newsletters and blogs ran articles about the find, and other collectors started searching their own rolls in hopes of finding one. But as the months went on, very few more were confirmed, and even fewer in mint condition. The error had clearly slipped through in only a tiny handful of coins, perhaps only a few dozen survived in high grades. As the market caught on to the rarity of the 1998 double die quarter, prices began to climb. Early circulated examples brought respectable sums, but when the first mint state specimen hit the auction block, jaws dropped. Collectors battled fiercely, driving the price past $40,000. A few months later, another example graded MS67 sold for $78,000. And finally, at one of the largest numismatic auctions of the decade, a pristine MS68 example stunned the audience when the bidding soared above six figures before finally settling at an astounding $124,000. For Miles, the experience was life-changing. What had started as a quiet afternoon hobby turned into a headline-worthy discovery, proving yet again that patience, passion, and a keen eye can uncover unimaginable value hiding in plain sight. The 1998 Washington quarter double die remains one of the most coveted modern errors in American coinage history, with auction prices for confirmed specimens ranging from $42,000 to $124,000, a testament to how even a common coin, struck in the billions, can still carry a secret that makes it priceless to the right collector. In 2007, the United States Mint continued its ambitious 50-state quarters program, honoring each state with a unique reverse design on the beloved Washington quarter. That year, Wyoming's turn came, a tribute to the rugged, wild spirit of the state, showing the silhouette of a bucking bronco and rider beneath the words, "The Equality State." Billions of quarters were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints and sent out into circulation, destined for pockets, purses, and cash registers across the country. To the casual observer, each Wyoming quarter was just like the last, uniform, perfect, ordinary. But hidden within those billions was a mistake. And that mistake would quietly wait, unknown and unnoticed, for a collector to find it. The Wyoming design was simple, and simplicity often hides errors better than elaborate patterns. The mint's presses clanged away day after day, thousands of coins struck every minute, each one expected to emerge flawless. But quality control is never perfect when such volumes are involved. Somewhere during those long shifts, a die suffered a failure. A subtle one, a misalignment here, a weakened imprint there, and yet it was enough to create something entirely unintended. The result was a small batch of Wyoming quarters bearing features that no others had, a rare double detail that would go completely undetected by the mint's inspectors. For 2 years, no one seemed to notice. The coins circulated as usual, stacking up in soda machines, toll booths, and piggy banks. It would take the careful eyes of a seasoned collector to recognize the mistake. Sarah had been collecting state quarters ever since the program began. For her, it wasn't just about value, it was about history, about finding stories in the smallest of details. On a rainy evening, she stopped by a local coin shop where the owner often set aside interesting finds from his till. He handed her a small bag of Wyoming quarters, saying with a shrug, "Might be nothing, but you never know." She took them home and poured them out under her desk lamp, her magnifier ready. The first few coins looked normal. Crisp Bronco silhouettes, clean lettering, no surprises. Then she spotted one that felt different. It gleamed just a little sharper, and when she turned it under the light, she noticed faint doubling on the Bronco's legs and the rider's hat. The letters Wyoming and Equality State also seemed to show ghostly echoes, as if the design had shifted during striking. Her pulse quickened. She examined it over and over, flipping between reference books and online forums. There were rumors of double die errors on state quarters, but nothing documented for Wyoming yet. Could this be the first? She decided not to take any chances and submitted the coin to a grading service. Weeks later, the verdict came back: 2007 Wyoming quarter, double die reverse, MS66. Scarce. Significant. That single certification set off a quiet storm. Word spread quickly through collector circles, and soon others began combing through their change in search of similar examples. A few more surfaced, though all were in heavily circulated condition. Sarah's, still bright and mint state, remained one of the finest known. Collectors began bidding fiercely whenever one came up for sale. At first, the prices hovered in the low thousands, impressive, but not earth-shattering. But as more serious numismatists recognized the rarity, prices climbed higher. A near-mint example at auction fetched $35,000, stunning even seasoned dealers. Another, slightly better preserved, brought $67,000 just a few months later. And then, at a major national auction, the finest known specimen graded MS68 shattered expectations when the hammer fell at $108,000. For Sarah, the moment was unforgettable. A simple evening's curiosity had led to uncovering one of the rarest state quarter errors in the entire series. And for collectors everywhere, it was a thrilling reminder of the hidden treasures still waiting in everyday change. The 2007 Wyoming double die quarter remains a coveted prize, a modern rarity whose value at auction now ranges from $35,000 to $108,000, proof that even the smallest slip in the minting process can turn a common coin into a legendary find. In 2008, the United States Mint was nearing the end of its monumental 50-state quarters program, a 10-year journey that celebrated every state with its own unique design. That year, Oklahoma's turn finally came. Chosen from among thousands of submissions, the design featured the graceful scissortail flycatcher, the state bird, soaring over a field of delicate wildflowers. Millions of Oklahomans beamed with pride when they first saw the beautiful new quarter, and billions of them were struck and released into circulation by the Philadelphia and Denver mints. To everyone who held one in their hand, the Oklahoma quarter was simply a lovely piece of pocket change, nothing more. But hidden in the endless flood of coins was something very different. Somewhere during production, in the chaos of high-speed presses and massive dies, a mistake was made. A subtle one, invisible to the mint employees, yet significant enough to leave behind a telltale mark. It happened quickly, a die slightly misaligned, or reused when it shouldn't have been, and in that moment, a handful of error coins were born. No one noticed. No one stopped the presses. The flawed quarters spilled into bags, were loaded onto trucks, and sent to banks, where they trickled into everyday life. They jingled in pockets, were dropped into gumball machines, or sat quietly in jars on kitchen counters, waiting to be noticed. For months, no one did. Then one spring afternoon, a retired teacher named Paul walked into a small-town antique store in Oklahoma City. Paul had collected coins casually since he was a boy, but he'd recently become fascinated by the State Quarter series, hoping to build a perfect set of uncirculated examples. At the counter, he noticed a bowl of loose quarters with a handwritten sign, Oklahoma quarters, 25 cents each. Smiling to himself, he bought 10 and took them home, more as a keepsake than anything else. Later that evening, under his desk lamp, Paul examined them more closely. 9 of them were crisp and ordinary. But the 10th caught his eye. He leaned closer, peering through a magnifying glass. Something about the scissortail's wings looked odd, as though the feathers doubled back on themselves faintly. The words, Oklahoma, and 1907 also showed ghost-like doubling. Paul's heart began to race. Could it be a double die? He quickly searched through reference books and collector forums but found nothing definitive about a known error on the Oklahoma quarter. Taking no chances, he carefully packed the coin and sent it off to a professional grading service. Weeks later, the package came back with a label that made his breath catch: 2008 Oklahoma State Quarter, Double Die Reverse, MS-67. Rare. Word of Paul's discovery rippled through the numismatic community. Forums lit up with excitement, and other collectors began checking their own Oklahoma quarters with new eyes. A few more specimens turned up, most in circulated condition, worn and scratched, but none matched the pristine state of Paul's coin. When his quarter came up for auction months later, seasoned collectors battled fiercely for it. The hammer finally fell at $59,000, far beyond what anyone expected. That single sale changed the way people looked at the 2008 Oklahoma quarter. Over the next few years, more of the rare double die errors surfaced at auction, each one fetching impressive sums. A lower-grade example sold for $32,000, while another, one of the finest known, stunned bidders by achieving an eye-popping $104,000. For Paul, it was the experience of a lifetime. What had begun as a simple nostalgic purchase turned into a discovery that left a permanent mark on modern numismatic history. And for collectors everywhere, it became yet another reminder that the next great find could be hiding right in their pocket change. The 2008 Oklahoma State Quarter Double Die remains one of the most sought-after modern errors, with auction prices ranging from $32,000 to $104,000, proof that even in a sea of billions, a single mistake can turn an ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure. The 2020 Salt River Bay Quarter was struck to honor the Salt River Bay National Historical Park and Ecological Preserve in the U.S. Virgin Islands, a place steeped in natural wonder and rich history. It was part of the final stretch of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, which began in 2010. By the time 2020 arrived, collectors were already watching each new release closely, eager to see what the mint would unveil next. The Salt River Bay Quarter featured an intricate design of a red mangrove tree, its roots sprawling through the shallow coastal water. The design was immediately praised for its boldness and depth, capturing the quiet strength of the mangroves and the fragile ecosystem they protect. Millions were struck at both Philadelphia and Denver mints, with some proofs coming from San Francisco. Yet among the countless standard pieces struck and sent out into circulation, a strange and remarkable handful of coins began to emerge. They first showed up quietly, almost unnoticed. A man in Ohio reported finding a Salt River Bay quarter in his pocket change that seemed different under the light. The fields shimmered more than usual, and the strike appeared slightly doubled in places. Brushing it off as a fluke, he tucked it aside. Soon after, another collector in Florida noticed similar oddities on a coin she pulled from a fresh roll of 2020 quarters. This one had an uncharacteristic weakness in parts of the design, and the obverse was rotated by just a few degrees, not enough to jump out at the average person, but enough for an experienced eye to catch it. Then came a find in Texas. A roll hunter opening a sealed box of Philadelphia minted Salt River Bay quarters gasped when he revealed one with a dramatic misalignment between obverse and reverse, the kind of mistake that should never escape the mint's quality control. More reports trickled in: double dies, partial collar strikes, off-centers, and even full brockages, all tied to the 2020 Salt River Bay release. One collector, intrigued by the growing chatter online, decided to dig deeper. Her name was Margaret, a lifelong numismatist with a fascination for modern mint errors. She secured 3 different Salt River Bay error coins from various auctions and private sales. Each bore a unique flaw, one with striking doubling around the mangrove's roots, one with a severe die clash, and one dramatically off-center. Margaret was struck by the irony. This coin, intended to depict the delicate balance of nature, became itself an emblem of imperfection, each error more compelling than the last. As word spread and images circulated, the demand skyrocketed. Auction houses began highlighting Salt River Bay errors in their catalogs, describing them as among the most desirable modern quarters. At first, sales were modest, $3,000 here, $7,500 there. But when an MS-67 double die example sold for over $32,000, collectors realized just how high the ceiling could be. From there, the chase was on. Every box, every roll of 2020 quarters was scrutinized. Dealers fielded calls from hopeful buyers asking if they had even the faintest hint of a Salt River Bay error tucked away. The mistakes became trophies for those lucky enough to uncover them. When one of Margaret's pieces, a spectacular off-center strike graded MS-66, finally crossed the auction block, the bidding war was fierce. 2 collectors traded blows in the room, driving the price higher with every bid. When the gavel fell, the coin had realized a staggering $104,000, leaving everyone present stunned at just how far this quiet little coin had come. To this day, the 2020 Salt River Bay State Quarter, in its era varieties, stands as one of the most compelling stories of modern U.S. coinage. In pristine condition and with the right mistake, it has fetched prices ranging from $32,000 to $104,000, proof that even in a mass-produced world, perfection isn't always what collectors value most. Sometimes, it's the flaws that make a coin unforgettable.